This meeting is being recorded.
All right, so good morning. Today, I know we've been talking about business development and helping you get more sales and things of that nature. Today, we're actually going to focus on what you do to actually get the transaction across, right? So basic stuff, but very important stuff. We're going to be focusing on SkySlope, contract forms. Where do I find those forms? What's the most efficient way for me to complete those forms? And then add them to SkySlope. Because again, that's necessary for you to get paid. Is everything needs to be in SkySlope, everything has to be approved. And so I'm going to show you guys a couple of different ways on how we can do what we need to do. All right, starting with, just in case I need this. Starting with how to access the forms. All right, so real briefly, I'm going to show you how to get to the Georgia MLS forms. However, I personally always use FMLS. I use Remind Docs Plus inside of FMLS. Makes it a lot more efficient for me. But some people like Transaction Desk, so I'm going to just show you how to access the forms from Transaction Desk. So you will literally go to Georgia MLS. I'm using the mouse so you can see it scroll. You'll go to Georgia MLS from your dashboard or just directly to the website. You'll log in. This is when it touch screen. Hold on, I'm gonna refresh so the password will stay. All right, so you log in and you'll see right here, Transaction Desk, right? So you click on Transaction Desk. And you guys can still hear me okay in Zoom, right? Mm-hmm. Thank you. And so inside of Transaction Desk, you can find your forms, right? You go to Documents. They're gonna be right there for you.
Which that's a,
Excuse me?
which icon was that?
On the left-hand side, you can open up the tab to expand it.
Gotcha.
And you'll see Documents right there.
Cool.
Right? And then Forms is where all of the forms are going to live. So one thing about Georgia MLS and Transaction Desk, your forms are going to be broken into the categories, not necessarily the title of the form, as we'll see inside of Docs Plus, right? So if I'm looking to do a buyer brokerage engagement agreement or a seller listing agreement, it's going to be in the broker engagements, etc., right? And I'm listing your property, so I'm going to use this exclusive seller brokerage engagement agreement, right? So on and so forth, or non-exclusive in some cases, right? Same thing with buyers, my exclusive buyer brokerage engagement or my non-exclusive, right? This is what's going to protect your commission to make sure you get paid.
Now, Adrian, I think that's probably going to be a sidebar conversation.
Yes.
Don't have all those choices.
Okay, so great point. So that is definitely going to be an issue with your connection to Georgia MLS, and more than likely, it's an issue with your connectivity with your NRDS number. Okay. So if you have not joined an affiliated board of realtors, then you're not going to have access to this stuff, and everybody is required to be a member of the board, right? And so once you are a member, you receive your NRDS number. When you first log into Transaction Desk, the same way as if you first log into Remind Docs Plus, as we'll see, you have to input that NRDS number and you'll automatically get all of your forms populated on your behalf. If you've done that and there's a connectivity issue, that's going to be a situation where you have to reach out to Georgia MLS directly and let them know, hey, my NRDS number is properly inputted. However, my forms aren't showcasing. And then they'll be able to work through the kinks with that, because that's going to be a disconnect on the back end. So some wires across somewhere. So great question. All right. And like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on Transaction Desk because this isn't my preferred platform. However, I want to show you that you can grab your forms from here, right? And we only use GAR forms. So if you don't see that Georgia Realtors Association logo at the top, you're using the wrong form, right? And you'll notice that there's a ton of different forms that are available to you that are completely irrelevant, like the Alabama Association of Realtors. If you're doing business in Alabama, we are not licensed in Alabama. We have a brokerage in Alabama, but you're going to be doing it under that brokerage or under somebody else's brokerage, not ours. Never use an Alabama Association of Realtors document, right?
Because you're not licensed to use it. Well, assuming that you have a Georgia license.
Exactly. And so, and we also have other forms here that are not GAR forms that are, relevant and compliant to Georgia. However, as a brokerage, we do not use those, only GAR forms, right? So don't think that you can not become a GAR member and then try to use the RE forms. You're not going to get paid, right? We're going to make you use the GAR form. So make sure that that's taken care of. And now I'm going to go ahead and move over to Remind Docs Plus so we can actually start the session. But again, you can access your forms from Georgia MLS. Georgia Association of Realtors is one of the few organizations who are very sticky with who they allow to connect their forms to. And there's a lot of payola, quite honestly. And so we currently don't have GAR forms connected to SkySlope, but we're still actively working on getting that integration connected for you guys to make it easier. So you don't have to jump through here. Now, moving on, we're going to go to FMLS. And I'm going to let a couple of people in real quick. And if you guys in the office with me, good morning, everybody that's joining. If you guys see the little icon pop up says somebody's waiting, if you could just let me know in case I don't see it. Thank you. Good morning. So jumping back over to the other screen. And if everybody could mute themselves upon entry. All right, so you'll see we're here at FMLS, right? And this is my preferred place to go to do forms. So we'll log in. And we'll go to products, and you'll see Remind Docs Plus. Once you log into FMLS, you're automatically going to be able to log into Remind. You're not going to have to re-input your information. However, if you go to Remind's domain directly, like that link up there, you'll have to go back and log into FMLS. So as long as you're in FMLS and you log in, you click on Remind Docs, you won't have to worry about duplicating that process. All right. Oh, cool. So it put me in touch mode. All right, so you'll see package library, form library, clause library, checklist library, etc., etc. We're going to jump into this in a moment, and I'm going to show you guys a few tricks to make this a lot more efficient for you when you're completing your documents, right? And also, well, we'll get into that part in a second.
Man, just throw this in there because it just happened to me. I'm sorry.
Oh no, let's if you don't mind noting that, and then we'll address that at the end, just so we can stay on task. But I definitely want to address that for you. All right, and so what we're going to do is, before we start to complete the documents, I want you guys to see the main area of where it's going to live, right, which is SkySlope. So Remind Docs Plus and Transaction Desk is going to be for you to complete the document, to negotiate with, and you store that there forever. There's no reason for you to delete those, right? So every client that you're working with, every deal that you're working on, you want to keep all of that. Anything that your client signs, you want to have, even if it's not executed, you want to have possession of that, right? Inside of either Remind Docs Plus or Transaction Desk, right? Whichever you use. SkySlope is for the executed agreements. Do not put an agreement inside of SkySlope that is not executed. Compliance is going to say, hey, somebody's signature is missing. That needs to be corrected before you upload it, right? So SkySlope is for the completed documents. Transaction Desk and Remind Docs Plus is while you're actively working on that transaction before it gets to the point of an executed agreement, right? So you'll want to come, and whether you're doing a listing, thank you. Whether you're doing a listing, sorry, I'm letting somebody else in real quick. Good morning, Tanisha. So whether you're doing a listing or a buyer side transaction, you're going to have a different starting place, right? So if you're creating a listing, you're going to go manage listing. Yours might look a little bit different than mine because it's a broker's version, but you'll create a new transaction for a transaction, and you'll create a new manage listing. I'll just show you what it looks like. Manage listing, create listing at the top right-hand corner, right? So I'm creating a new listing. After that listing is created, right, we have an executed agreement between myself as the agent and the seller as the client, right? So that document needs to be here, right? So you're creating your listing, it's ready to go. Now, once that listing goes under contract, inside of SkySlope, there's going to be a button that says create transaction. So you create a transaction from that listing. You don't have to go in and create another transaction. The listing is already created. That's the same deal. Now there's exactly. There's another layer to it once it goes under contract, right? And so it'll look a little bit different, and I'll show you guys what that looks like in a moment. But we're not going to create a transaction. I'm going to start with you representing a buyer, right? Because again, when it comes to creating a listing, we'll show you that too. But after you input it inside of FMLS and Georgia MLS, remember all listings have to be presented on both platforms, right? And the way that you do that is one, FMLS connects to Georgia MLS, and two, Georgia MLS connects to FMLS through third parties. So if I'm doing Remind, for instance, and I have a new listing, I need to upload it. I'm going to go to not Docs, but I'll be inside of Remind itself. I'll just show you what that looks like real quickly. And then we're going to get back on a straight line of exactly what we're trying to accomplish, which is the transaction file itself. But just to give you an idea, I can come to add edit inside of Remind, not Remind Docs, but Remind. You hit add edit, and you're able to then select, as you're creating the file, you're able to collect. Oh, you good?
Yeah, I couldn't see.
Okay. So you'll create listing at the top right-hand corner,
Okay.
create listing. And then you'll be able to select that I want this listing to be pushed to FMLS and Georgia MLS. That way you see, so you want to make sure they're both clicked. And now this listing is going to ask me to sign in, but that listing will be connected to both MLSs, right? After you sign in, I'm not signing in just because this computer isn't my main computer, but you select both. Now that listing is going to be pushed to both. You may need to go in and adjust a file or a line or two inside of Georgia MLS just to make sure it's compliant, because everything doesn't read directly, but it does 98% of the work for you. So you don't have to do two inputs. All right, so going back to what we were talking about. So I have a buyer, and we're getting ready to purchase or submit an offer on a property, right? So we're not in SkySlope yet because we haven't gotten that far. We don't have an executed agreement. So I'm going to go to Remind Docs. Remember, FMLS, products, Remind Docs Plus, right? It's going to take me here. So I'm going to create a transaction. This is a sale, and we're repping the buy side, right? Next step. I'll show you guys something too before just to show you a little shortcut, right? So what we're going to be purchasing is 4665 Riverview, right? So 4665 Riverview. If I were to put, sorry, the number line. If I were to put Riverview Road, it won't pop up. So anytime you're doing a shortcut search, only use the number and the first part of the address. Don't put road or drive or lane, and it's gonna pop up for you. So this is the one we're buying today, right? You'll notice here, I can click create a Remind transaction directly from the listing. And what that's gonna do is push me straight to Remind. So I don't have to even go through all those other steps I just showed y'all. right? So if you already know the listing, just pull it up on FMLS and create, press the little remind button, and it's going to create a transaction for you, right? So, and then you'll be able to name the transaction, so on and so forth. So going back, if you didn't do it that way, next step. So right, step one, sell, buy side. Next step. Oh, let me refresh it because I confused it when I opened up that other file.
Now you're back in Remind Docs now, correct?
Correct. So let me show you where we are. I went to the deal. We're about to place an offer on 4665 Riverview Road, right? And I'm creating a remind transaction. Again, you can also get there from going to FMLS Matrix, or excuse me, FMLS Products, Remind Docs Plus, right there for you, right? So we're here. Why is this giving me an issue? I confused it, y'all. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go to it this way. Let somebody else in real quick. Give me 1 second. Good morning. All right, so create a transaction. Sure. Sell, buy side, next step, transaction. Can you mute yourself, Jan? Next step.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. Riverview. It's crazy. I know your voice while you're coughing.
Right.
So Riverview, address. So you can do address or MLS. I'm gonna just do the MLS number 724-7567 or 724-7567. And it's gonna pop up for me. I'm gonna select it. And you'll notice the seller's name populates, the listing agents populate. We see that this is a KW Peachtree Road deal. We hit continue. Well, the buyer's name, we'll sell it to level. All right, continue. And you'll notice you have your form drop down here. So again, we only use GAR forms. So we're going to select Georgia. We're going to select not RE forms, not mid Georgia, not dual entry, none of this, just GAR forms, Georgia Association of Realtors. And now we start to select which items we're going to be using. So if I don't know, if I'm a rookie, right, you can come to your checklist and see exactly what you're going to have to upload, right? You'll notice too that sometimes, let me see that, it doesn't look like they have anything. Sometimes they'll actually have documents here for you to download as well. So if they have the seller disclosure form already completed, you can go ahead and just download that from here. Yep, everything, right? And then if they don't, then you want to send it to them in a blank version. Or what I would always strongly encourage and suggest is to call the agent. Say, hey, I'm getting ready to send over an offer. Can you make sure that you send me over all of the amendments, or excuse me, all of the addenda, right? And I'm also having a conversation about what that offer is going to be looking like and what their expectations are. So I can craft the best offer, and I already know what I'm working with when I go back to my buyer while we're drafting this offer, right? And so we obviously know we're going to need the purchase and sell agreement. Get out of my way. All right, let me do it this way. F201. And you'll notice inside of the SkySlope checklist that some of those forms have the number of the form to make it easier for you if you can't figure out exactly which form it is, right? So you want the purchase and sell agreement. Of course, you want a buyer brokerage engagement agreement if you don't already have it signed. And I would do this before we're sending an offer. I'm not showing you any properties if I don't have a buyer brokerage engagement agreement signed. It's just me. Engagement. There we go. Exclusive. Don't be working with anybody else. Right. And then there's going to be a multitude of other documents that you're going to need. But I'm just going to use these two as an example for for time's sake. So now we hit next. And it's been created now. So now the transaction is officially created and I can start to work on it. You'll notice, and what I always encourage too is, so this instance, we only have 2 forms that we're going to be completing, but in a lot of instances, you'll have 6 or 7 forms. You always want to complete the form with the most information, right? Because once I fill out this purchase and sell agreement, it's going to take that info and send it to every other one of my documents, right? So the closing attorney exhibit, right? They're holding the escrow and so on and so forth. Any sort of disclosure, everything is going to populate. So that address is going to populate across the documents. The purchase price will populate across the documents if it's relevant, the closing costs, so on and so forth. So you don't have to go in and constantly add the same thing over and over and over. Right?
That's way better than that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, well, yeah. I did not use Remind, but I will. Yeah. I'm about to start doing it today.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that loop.
I think that would be the same thing. It's just a matter of.
It depends on if it's how it's connected.
Yeah, for sure. But nothing is going to beat this.
Yeah. This is easy to do itself.
Yes. And it's connected. It's also connected to our MLS. Again, I didn't have to even pull the listing agent's information. It did it for me. Right, I didn't have to pull any of this info and pull it directly.
That's right, yeah.
Because it's connected.
That look, you have to add that information.
Exactly.
And if you click on something like, say, where you like how you the legal description, if you click on the right thing, like the tax, because of the listing number, the tax ID will pop.
Exactly.
Sweet.
Exactly.
And all that is like the best stuff ever.
Yeah, super convenient. All right, so moving on. We're going to make sure there are no blanks on any of our contracts. First off, you send over a contract to me as the listing agent and there's a blank on it, I'm already putting yours to the bottom of the pile. Absolutely. Because this person may not know what they're doing. I'm not going to risk the actual sale. So the job is to get the highest probable close, right? So if I have 10 offers and 7 of those offers aren't even, the purchase and sell agreement not even completed properly, right? I'm gonna look at that. I'm not gonna dismiss them. I'm still gonna consider them and provide and showcase everything to my client. But when my client is asking me for my advice, I'm gonna say, hey, yeah, this one is $1,000 over, but they didn't even fill in the form completely, right? They didn't even take the time to make sure there were no blanks on the most important document in this entire transaction, right? So they might miss something along the process, even if their buyer is strong. So I'll have a conversation with the agent, fill out where they are and see if it's a great fit. But, you know, I'm kind of liking this one. This one is clean, right? So on and so forth. All right, so going back to the form. So they're going $46.8 million for this, and we're going to give them $45 million. This is Chestnut Hall. This is actually a deal that I was going to take to market before I switched to commercial. And I went to a certain affiliated brokerage and they wouldn't let me do it because it was residential. True story. This was back in 2017. Closing costs. We don't need any closing costs. We're bringing $45 million to the table. We're paying cash for it. Closing date, I want it tomorrow. No, I'm joking. Okay. So we'll do Tuesday, next Tuesday. Closing law firm, of course, Pacific Law. I got Marshall. And Marshall and them are going to be holding the escrow, right?
You said they have an office upstairs, right? They have an office in this building?
Oh, no. Phone number.
793.
Holder of earnest money, closing attorney. Earnest money, we're going to do a wire transfer immediately. We're going to send it as, I always give them time, so I'm not even going to play around with y'all today. So we're going to send $250,000. Oh, for 2,250,000 within 3 days of us going binding. Right? Inspection and due diligence, I don't need it. Never do this, by the way. You want to do some kind of due diligence on the property. Right? This was not built prior to 78. I am representing Level as a buyer, as a client, and they're representing them as a seller. If I don't know that, don't just assume. Call them. We need to communicate with the other side. That's your client, right? I'm filling out this offer. Just want to make sure that they are your client. So I'm going to fill that in. Oh no, they're actually a customer in this one. Okay, cool, good to know. Right? Is there any material relationship that needs to be disclosed? No, not on our end. Okay, cool. Not on ours either. So not applicable. Don't leave that blank. Time limit of offer. I don't care if your buyer says, "Oh, just leave it blank." We don't care. Put a freaking time and date there.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's the end of the year, give them a whole 3 months to think about it. Like protection.
I don't know if I would do that.
No, I wouldn't either. I'm just saying though, that's better than nothing.
Absolutely,
You know what I'm saying? Because again,
if people don't understand, if somebody signs and makes no change, you just bought a house.
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna go there. They have until the end of tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow, 25th. I don't know what today is. So they have whatever that time. That's when they have until to limit it. Now you'll notice the document is practically done at this point. So one thing I love about guard forms is they stick all of the good stuff up front. Anything that you as a realtor or your transaction coordinator is going to have to fill out, that's going to be here, right, on the first few pages. And then everything in addition to that are going to be on the last few pages. So if there's any sort of special stipulations, right? So now that's a completed document minus the offer date at the top, which is going to populate for me, right? But I'll go ahead and put it in now. Right?
You know, it's kind of cool. We just realized the seller's initials populated. The seller's initials populated on it.
You did
at
not.
the bottom page.
Excuse me.
Right there, if you look, you see seller's initials already populated.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's because they'll be able to sign it. Yeah. So if I have, because again, and their info is might already be in there based off of the fact that it's in Remod. So I don't even have to go back and forth with the listing agent. It's like I'm gonna just send it to everybody. Is that cool? Because some people don't want you to send documents to their clients. So they might say, no, just send it to me. I'll handle it from there. Right. But you can't. You have that capability if they're already in here.
You did not include legal description. Just like why?
Oh.
No, because I thought it was an or. If you use
No. So what I always suggest, thank you, too. What I always suggest is first go down the list. I got sidetracked, by the way. So, but good catch. So just start with number 1, make sure it's completed. Then go to number 2, make sure it's completed. Go to number 3, make sure it's completed. This is how y'all get paid, right? So take the time to do it the right way.
So click option number 3 so that they can see that the deed book number and page.
Well, so I don't think that they actually inputted it in. Oh, there you go.
It should pop up because the tax ID number is there.
Okay.
In the listing, if they have it on the listing.
Yeah, and so well, yeah, and see, and some like I personally, I don't like to ever use that. So that's what it's going to be. So if somebody inputted that wrong on the wrong end, even if the tax people put it in wrong, then we put it in wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And so I like to protect it. Now, again, that's better than nothing. But I just say, hey, I call Marshall. Marshall's the Pacific Law attorney on this case, or any closing attorney. Right. You work for this money. Right. Hey, I need the legal exhibit. Can you send that on over to me? Right. I'm signing up. I'm doing an offer. Right. And if they have a problem with that, call Marshall and use them to close it. Right. Or somebody that you're familiar with that you know that can get the job done. So it's like, but they'll send that to you. And now you're protected completely. And this is the actual property that your buyer is buying. Right. There's no any kind of discrepancy if something was inputted the wrong way. But it does populate it for you. So great point. So go down the list, make sure there aren't any blanks. And then you're good with that page. Right. Now that everything that you've inputted is going to populate into any other form on this side that you have. And I'll show you that in a moment. So we're scrolling down. And a lot of people ask me about special stipulations. See if there is a need for a special stip in that particular deal. And if there is, before you pretend to become an attorney, I'm gonna show you what you need to do. So first off, you want to make sure that all of the addenda that's necessary and relevant for this deal is completed as well, right? So in this case, we would have escrow agreement, so on and so forth. We would do no financing contingency because this is a cash deal, right? So on and so forth. And if I had those uploaded, I can still upload them too in a second. I'll show you. So let me, in fact, I'll do it this way. So closing attorney acting as holder of earnest money.
There might be a community association.
That definitely doesn't have a community. That's on like 30 acres in Sandy Springs, Buckhead area. Loan is something, no. The legal description, yep, we're going to be including that. We have that attached, right? Or we're requesting it from our attorney. Seller's property disclosure, right? And we're good. And now let's say I wanted to add some special steps to the deal, right? You'll notice I click on special steps and it's going to ask me, do I want to add a clause or create a new clause? This is what I mean before you become an attorney or act like an attorney and start making clauses up on your own or Googling clauses. Oh, that sounds good. I'll use that one. Like, come on. They have it built for you. So click add clauses and let's focus on the Georgia Association of Realtor clauses first. If we can't find what we want, then we can consider going a different direction. But let's start here. Let's say we want to do a financing clause in a bankruptcy contingency, right? I can preview it, see what it's going to say. Okay, cool. I like that. I'm going to add that. And then I also want an exchange clause, right? We're doing a 1031, right? And so I'm going to add both of those. It's going to populate it for me. I don't have to think about which clauses to put, and it's going to format it the right way as well, right? So now the buyer acknowledges that seller has filed for bankruptcy in the federal district court. This agreement is therefore contingent upon the bankruptcy court issuing a final judgment, so on and so forth, right? And then I want to make sure that I'll input the date here where it shows you that there's clearly something I need to put there, right? So now I can add the date and I have these clauses inside of the agreement. And so now, and I'm going to have to be careful with this because I don't want to actually send this over to her.
Especially the cash offer. Oh no! I think you should put your name in the buyer.
They only got until tonight.
All
right. So then I click on next document, right? And here's where the magic happens. Well, this one sucks because this is the buyer brokerage engagement agreement. So nothing from that document is actually going to populate because it's not the same document, right? But I will fill in my buyer brokerage engagement info. And let's say I forgot a document because I have those others attached that I didn't add, right? And so I'll show you what that looks like once this loads up for us. Over here, you see where it says plus form? I just add another form. What document do I need? Right, I need the escrow agreement. Right, and just know you're going to need F511 field, right, and F510. F511 is going to be filled by the attorney or signed by the attorney. 510 is going to be signed by the other two parties. And so you want to make sure that everybody understands that it's okay for the closing attorney to hold the earnest money, and the closing attorney is accepting that and saying, okay, I agree. So you need both of those.
Between I see it has a buyer side and a seller side.
They're exactly the same.
Except for the agent's part.
It's the same exact document.
That's what I thought.
Except one is just to verify that I'm working with the buyer.
Gotcha.
Because some agents make things a little bit more complicated than necessary.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's literally the same exact document.
And you will upload that to the transaction.
Exactly. So hit form.
Oh, I'm sorry. Upload if you choose.
It's the wrong one. So you'll see there, you'll see next.
Yeah.
Right? And they may have even updated this. Let me see. I'm gonna let it finish loading first. So now you'll notice that that's over here as well, right? And so now I click on it and you'll see, oh, yep, they updated it. So not too long ago, you had to start with the regular document for it to populate. Now it's still gonna populate even if you open up the document later. So again, I just added the document, but you'll see it's already populated for me. And all I'm gonna go do is verify everything is what it's supposed to be. You'll notice, again, I'm not.
Oh, it didn't add the closing attorney though.
Well, it didn't, because I didn't have this document set up when I did it initially, right? So it's a great question. So if I had this already ready to go, it would have pulled that from that PSA, which is why you always want to start with, first off, you want to make sure everything is uploaded, and then you want to start with the most informative document, if you will, with the most data input, right? And so Pacific law, right? And we're done with that. So now what I'm going to do is either download it to send to my client to sign off on, and for myself to sign off on, and then send it on over to the listing agent after I have a conversation with them, letting them know I have an offer on the way. Don't just send an offer via email and expect to get a response. A good broker is still going to respond to you, or a good agent. Right. However, some people might, a lot of people don't check their mail, their email, quite honestly. And so it might just be sitting there and you're like, oh no, I sent it yesterday. And it's like, now it's expired. It expired at 11:59 tonight, right? So now I got to go redo that. And don't ever, I'm telling you, one of the sloppiest things to do is to scratch out a document, just redo it. It lends itself to a lot of exposure that you don't necessarily want to be in if you don't have to. If you could prevent it by simply saying, oh, don't worry about it. I'll go ahead and I'll have my team redo the document. We'll send it up, right? And they're like, oh, dang, they didn't even ask me to do it, right? And then you also build that camaraderie with the other agent on the other end. So if the deal gets a little sticky, they remember that experience and they're like, oh, no, we in this together. We both got the same goal at mind. They're not against me. We're all trying to get this thing across the finish line, right? But again, it just takes a little bit of time, and it showcases your professionalism, so you'll be in a better position to be able to make sure that you solidify that business. And again, going back to my list of offers that I received, right, as a listing agent. And remember, most listing agents are going to be, ahead of the curve when it comes to certain aspects of the real estate industry, right? And what I mean by that is that listing agent probably doesn't only have one listing, because they're especially I guarantee she don't only have one listing, like $45 million deal, right? And so your deal might come across again. So if I have a pile full of 10 offers and 4 of them aren't completed properly, and then I see an offer from somebody I just did a successful deal with, and I remember that experience, guess who's rising to the top, right? It's like, oh, I remember this. I remember that one. We're going to get it done. There's not going to be any hiccups. We're not going to have to extend, at the last minute and then put my seller in a bad position, because I know that they're professional. They're going to be on top of it, right? As opposed to some sloppy document from a newbie that don't know what they're doing, and it clearly showcases they don't know what they're doing, right? So again, you either download it, sign it, and again, once you download it, if you want to use the SkySlope digital signature, you can, right? So that's available to you, but again, just don't upload it to SkySlope yet until it's executed, right?
From Remind, you can actually request your client signature from Remind. For sure.
And so and that's what I was saying, you can download it or you can just send it to get signed.
Okay, yeah.
So once you send it, it's going to ask you, who am I sending it to? I'll show you, because it's not going to send directly, right? It's going to ask me, first off, which documents am I sending? And then who am I sending it to, right? Am I sending it to? And it's going to let you know as well. It's another thing I like about Remind. It's going to flag you if something is missing. So name of authorized representative is missing on the escrow agreement, right? These yellow ones are okay. The first buyer's address, we don't really need that. We want it, we don't need it, right? So it's yellow instead of red. Now the PSA closing costs, again, there aren't any, but it flagged it because it's 0. It's like, are you sure? Have another look at that, right? And then I'm also missing my exhibit titles. So it's going to help check you along the way, right? Before you move. So you have to blatantly disregard this stuff to continue, right? So you continue. And then now this is where it asks me, who am I sending it to? So this is where you want to make sure that you get, let me see if they even have it. Okay, they actually don't even have it. They just let me know who the sellers are in their initials on that first page. They don't even allow you to send it to the other person's client, which I actually like. But I can send it to the seller, right? Actually, no, that is the seller.
Yeah, that's the seller.
Okay, yeah. So you definitely want to make sure. No, it's not. That's Debbie. That's part of her team. That's part of her team. Yeah. And so, but if it were the case where you could send it to the seller, you definitely want to ask before you send something to somebody's client. But in this instance, again, it's just going to be the listing agent and then my buyer, right, level. So I select, hey, I want to send it to level. It's saying, okay, and you can't send it to both sides at the same time. So I would have to input the email address and send it to my buyer. And then after my buyer signs off on it, I'll have the option to send it to the sell side. I can't send it to both at the same time. Somebody has to sign it first. And then I can also say, if I want to auto send after.
Gotcha, after the one party signs.
Yeah, it'll do it automatically. Gotcha. If not, it's a step you have to take. But again, right now we're only focused on our buyer. So our buyer signs off on it, right? Some buyers might say, print it out, send it to me, or scan it to me, email it to me. I'll review it first. Some people want to just sign it digitally like this. It's fine. Either way. So now that it's signed, right, hypothetically, it'll be a completed document. And we're going to pretend as if this is completed. I'll download this one too. And you'll see you can download it as a zip, or you can download it as one PDF, right, to the transaction folder or to my computer. And so I'm going to download it to my computer, one PDF. This is Riverview. Next. And it's going to download for me. So I'll give it a second, and it'll notify me once it's downloaded. And we'll keep it moving. Let me see something real quick, make sure nobody else joined. All right. And as that's downloading, I'm going to go to SkySlope. Now, I want to create a transaction because I'm working with a buyer. If that was my listing and I just received an offer, an executed agreement, then I would just go ahead and hit create transaction from that listing. And it's going to add a new checklist for me. But in this instance, we're working with the buyer. I signed off on it. The buyer signs off on it. Debbie and her team just signed off on it, right? So now we're under contract for 45 million. So I'm going to search for the address. And you'll notice, I keep doing that. 4665. You'll notice it pops up for me, right, from Google. So I click on it, and now it populates the address for me. Some people, some of y'all specifically, put in the street address or the street number as the entire street address and the name, and so it just gets convoluted, and it doesn't need to be that way. You can literally just Google it. It's going to populate the right address, the right fashion, the right format for you. You keep it moving. Who's the agent? Adrian. MLS number 724-7567. I keep it on. 724-7567. Right. I don't know if you guys just say office. If you connected to both the offices, it will make sure it's Terminus, not the Fairburn office. Checklist type. Right. This is a residential sale. The address is populated for me. Looks good. Property type, residential. Property subtype, this is going to be single family detached. If there was a co-buyer agent, I can add them here. Type, I'm only repping the buyer, so it's a purchase. Year built, I don't remember, but as a savvy agent, I would have this printed out or next to me on one of my screens, so I know exactly 1995. Sell price, they agreed to 45 million. Source, we got this sourcing through a personal referral. It was not an office lead. And don't think that if you get an office lead, you can just select no, and that we're not going to know that it was an office lead. It doesn't work that way. It's still an office lead, even if it's not put here. Acceptance date, they accepted today. Escrow number, disregard. APN you can place, but unnecessary, which is why it isn't required. And we are closing on this bad boy next Tuesday. And then we hit next. All right. Now, you're going to have info that you need to input, right? And again, a lot of that info is already given to us, right? So we know who the seller is, we know certain things. But in this case, it's just going to be John Doe or Joe Doe. And you'll notice I don't have to put the seller's contact info because it doesn't matter, right? And they're not our client. However, my client's information is going to require me to have at least their email address, right? This is Level LLC email. Right, phone number. Right. And once you have a client, this is a company, so a company name. Level, I did that wrong. All right, so if it isn't a company, obviously, or a trust or a different entity, you don't select that. But since in this case it is, that's why we're doing that. All right, so we'll save that. Same thing with escrow. We need to know their number. And please don't add any I don't know at gmail.com for the closing attorney's info. We need that, right? Especially after the deal. Phone number. I don't know if that's the actual one, but right? Title company. Pacific Law. We're moving along. So we save that. Oh, I'm gonna just do it this way. It saves too, is the point I was about to make in a second. So if you work with a client that's that does more than one deal, you're not gonna have to keep inputting that information. It'll just be there for you. Right. So we'll save that. What am I missing? Oh, that's cool. All right. Agent representing the other side, we are going to need their contact info. So we know it's Debbie. And remember, these files live forever, y'all. So it's 6 years down the road, this is a $45 million deal, something might happen. 6 years down the road, they might want to come sue everybody for some reason. I paid 45 million cash, this wasn't that. Y'all said it wasn't. We have everybody's info here. We have all of the documents here. We can review everything, and it's all audited. So it's a timeline for everything as well, right? Loan officer, not applicable. This is a cash deal. If it was, we know it would be Adrian Provost with Tap Money Mortgage. It's going to be other because this is cash. All right. So we save that. And now the hard part is done. That's literally the most intense part of all of this, right? And I'm going to show y'all another trick real quick because some people like to just upload the entire file as one document that might be 32 pages, 40 pages, whatever, and they'll just keep uploading that into each checklist form, which is fine, but it just causes more work for the compliance team. I'm gonna show you something that you can do. All right, so that's done. I'm gonna submit this. Corporate gonna be like, whoa, they got them a big one over there, 45 million.
Oh, they see
Yeah,
this?
they're gonna see this, but I'll just delete it in a second. All right, so this is where you go ahead and add all of the information about you getting paid, right? So $45 million sale price. Yes, it's a personal deal.
You submitted all the other information you just entered, right?
Yeah, you hit submit.
Gotcha.
Sale commission. If you don't hit submit, it won't take you to this next step.
Gotcha.
Sale commission 3%. Right. Not holding any earnest money, so on and so forth. I'm gonna try to rush through this. I actually have a meeting right after. All right, so we hit submit. And now the checklist is going to be created for you. And you'll want to make sure that that everything that you have is correlating with the checklist. In some instances, it might say required, it may not be required. If you think it isn't, just add that to the comments so our compliance team can know, right? So for instance, I always encourage to always have a lead-based paint agreement, regardless if it was built prior to 1978, because there may be a component of the property that was built prior to, and a kid eats a chip of paint off of that, and it's a whole other situation, it's a lawsuit, right? So it doesn't hurt to get that extra element, but some people, some agents are just, they don't want to do more work. No, I don't want to get my client to sign it, it's not built in, whatever, we're not going to trip on that.
Yeah.
But you'll just put not applicable and hit save, our compliance team will see it, right? And again, you want to upload where it says attach, that's where you upload, exactly. Yeah. And not only that, I can literally go to where it says documents. Don't do it this way unless you have to, but I can upload document, right? Yep. Let me see. So we upload our document, right? And you see our sales contract just came up. This is it, right? So what I'll do is, you see where it says split. I split the document. And so it's going to ask me, how do I want to split this up? First off, what am I splitting? Right? I have the buyer brokerage engagement agreement and the sales contract. Right? So purchase and sell agreement first, from pages 1 through, is it 10 or is it 9? Yeah, 9. So pages 1 through 9 would be the purchase and sales contract. Then I would add a row. Then in my buyer brokerage engagement agreement is 10 through, what is it? Oh, is that the rest of them? Yeah, so 10 through 16, right? So page 16 of 16. And then I just hit split and assign. It's going to assign it to the right category, right? So if I upload the entire file at once, I don't have to go in and pick and choose which one.
Like
so it's
print, save, and
exactly.
Save. I got you.
And then so you go to checklist and you'll see that it's going to be uploaded in the right place, right? So buyer brokerage engagement agreement is right there, right? And then if you just hover over it, it'll give you a preview so you don't have to download it, right? And I can see, okay, that's my buyer brokerage engagement agreement, cool. And then the purchase and sell agreement, same thing, right? It's done for me there. And then the compliance team will review it, accept it, or reject it. If they reject it, they're going to let you know why in the comments section. But if it's ready to go, they're going to accept it. And then, or like I mentioned, you can just click on whichever is on the checklist and then attach it from here, right? So multiple ways to be able to get it done, but I want it to be as efficient for you guys and streamlined, so you're not worried about not doing it the right way, or not getting every component done accurately. That's it for today. That's how you upload your transactions into SkySlope and how you find the documents. Hopefully that was helpful and valuable to you all.
How we delete it, so
I'll get back to that for you.
Okay, cool.
And
If
yeah,
people
and
ask questions, they can message me.
perfect. Yeah, if anybody has questions, you can go reach out to Clarence and he'll walk you through with any additional questions you might have regarding that. But thanks, and enjoy the rest of the day, dog. Everybody. Y'all.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Take care. My pleasure.
Real good marriage. They did, right?
Thank you. Take care.
Or not.